Hello, welcome back to another episode of Testifying of His Power. Well, I realize that, the word says in the book of Revelation that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. And what's the next thing? By the word of their testimony. It is hard to receive testimony of the power of God. I don't know. It seems like the people of God are afraid to testify of the power of God. I figure if I'd asked for a testimony of the power of the enemy, of the power of Satan, we'd have a lot of testimonies, right? But so little are willing to testify of his power. And why do you say that, Brother Howard? Well, it's because I've thrown out the invitation that if God has done something in your life and you would like to testify of it, then you should reach out to me. I have not gotten a lot of responses. And you can tell by the amount of episodes we have done on this perspective of testifying of his power. So, in this episode, in this session, what I'd like to do, I would like to share a testimony that I heard. We had a meeting recently, and one of our dear sisters was willing to testify. Now, I've not asked her permission yet to air this testimony, but I figured since she did it at a camp meeting, that it would be no problem because the video from the camp meeting would have gone out anyways. All right. So I want you to sit back and listen to this sister testifies of the goodness of God.
Good morning still. Happy Sabbath, everyone. I have a testimony, and it is a few weeks ago, I went to England, and in the night before leaving, I was asleep, and I heard the Spirit tell me not to forget my inhaler because I have asthma. I have exercise-induced asthma. That's my trigger, exercise. So I said, okay. And so as I packed and I got ready, I had to drive to Atlanta for the airport. I prayed also that the Lord would give me a nice person to sit next to, because for the last 3 years, I've gone to Jamaica and nobody has talked to me on the plane. No matter what I do, everybody wants to sleep. And it's a short flight. Nobody would talk. This has been since 2020. Before, when I used to travel, I always would be able to talk to somebody next to me. But the last 3 years, that has not been the case. So I prayed for a nice seatmate. And so it was not a full flight. And while we were sitting in the lobby, a lady came. There was a seat next to me. There was 2 seats, actually. And there were some people on this side of me. And she wanted to know if those seats were available. But the way she did it was she turned her back to me and her backside and only asked those people. So I thought, well, I hope it's not her, because then I thought this is going to be not a nice flight. When I got on the plane, there was a young man who finally came. What is that? 20 years old. What was Z? Gen Z? Yeah. And I'm telling you, did God ever answer my prayer? This young man and I had the best time. Now, it's a night flight, so we're going to sleep. And I gave him permission to hit me or touch me or do whatever he needed to do if I started to snore. And so he says, okay, you say so. But we never could rest very well. The flight was just so uncomfortable. But when I spoke to him, we laughed, we talked, I shared. And when I got off the plane and we were getting our baggages, do you know that he came over to me to tell me how much he enjoyed spending time with me? This 20-year-old. So the Lord answered my prayer. So now I get Nottingham, and they've got all these activities planned for me. So that means sightseeing. That means a lot of walking. And then I realized that I didn't bring my inhaler. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do, Father? Because I don't want to ruin that. They've made these plans for us. And just before I left, I'd had two asthma attacks so severe that I had to call for prayer. And so I didn't want to have that situation for the next 2 weeks going on. And so we prayed. And I'm telling you, they had an upstairs. So I had to go upstairs to the bathroom every day. That would have caused me just to huff and puff just to do that. For the 2 weeks I was there, I never had one asthma attack. I walked up and down the steps. I hung out clothes, things that I can't do at home and haven't been able to do. I was able to do for the 2 weeks. Now, England is a place that's cloudy all the time. And when I got there, the sun had come out, but it was still very chilly. Well, for them, they were loving it because the sun was out. They didn't feel the chill. Everybody was so happy. And I had my hoodie like, this sun doesn't give heat. I think this might be the artificial sun because I was cold and everybody was so excited. So, as we watched the weather, we were going to go to England. I'm in Nottingham and we're going to go to England, and the forecast is rain, rain, rain. And we want to ride one of those, all their buses are double decker, and we were going to ride the ones that were open in the top because we wanted to see. And there's a 70% chance of rain every day. And as we got closer, it stayed 70%. It was just rain, rain, rain. And do you know when we got to England, I mean to London, the sky opened up and it turned blue. And even when I sent the pictures back, the children was like, there's a blue sky in England? Because I'm telling you, it was the most beautiful day. And I was like, Lord, this is so wonderful that you've blessed us with something simple like this, beautiful weather and me not having an asthma attack. This is so wonderful. So, as we're in London, we're having to wear a backpack. I have backpack purses, but this was a real backpack because we got to take water and, of course, umbrellas and all of our food and stuff. So I've got this burden on my back. I called it my burden. If anybody knows Pilgrim's Progress, I love that story. And I felt like Pilgrim with this burden on my back. So my friends had given me a hoodie. And on this hoodie that I was wearing, on the back, it says, Dear person behind me, I hope you know Jesus loves you beyond measure. I pray he blesses you today. With love, the person in front of you. Live like Jesus, John 15:15. But I had a burden on my back, and that wasn't seen. And I'm up and down on the steps on the bus, and the steps to go to the double deck are very narrow. And I'm having to pull myself up to the top of the deck, and off I go, down I go, another bus we go. I was in and out, no asthma attack. By the time we got to the palace, Buckingham Palace, we were walking, and another Gen Zer. Now, wait, before I say that, is it Gen Z or X? It's X, the young one. At the end of the day, Wayne takes my burden. I'd had it on my back all day. He says, Diann, I'll carry it for you. So when Wayne takes my burden, these young men comes up to me and say, ma'am, I really like your sweatshirt. And I looked down because I thought it was going to be because it was purple. And I said, oh, you read the back? And they said, yes. Now you have to understand, England is not a very religious place. All the churches were, all these Gothic looking ornate churches were other things other than churches. I mean, there was all kinds of things inside of them, but not people worshiping. That's what it looked like. So for these young people to read this, and express an appreciation for what it said meant something to me. And then we go to the train station and we're leaving. Another woman comes behind me and says, thank you so much for that message. I needed that. And I said, what? And I don't usually get in people's spaces and touch people's persons because I don't want it done to me. But I was really impressed to rub her back, to touch her. And she accepted that. She needed that too. So I was like, had I laid my burden down earlier, how many more people could I have blessed? I didn't realize it at the time, but you know what? So many times we have burdens, and that burden keeps us from sharing the love and light of God. So if you have any kind of burden, lay it down so that your light can shine. Because so many, just those two people impressed me because they were blessed by the message that was on my back. So now on our way here, Sister Donna came from Florida, 15 hours on a bus with her 3-year-old granddaughter. I pick her up in Montgomery, and we have a 5-hour drive here. I had prayed, Father, I don't want any danger to come to us, and especially because of me. So I don't want somebody else to be hurt because of something I do. So I asked for his protection. And I know I'm a pretty good driver. And this particular time, I was making sure that I wasn't tailgating, that I wasn't close. In some places, that's not possible. When I'm in Atlanta, all cars are tail because there's just so many cars. But there weren't so many cars, so I was able to keep a good distance behind all the cars that I was traveling with in around. And then all of a sudden, now I have to say this because for those of you not from America might not know what a water tank, our water heaters look like, those 50, 60-gallon water heaters, big cylinder, was on the back of a truck in front of me. And all of a sudden it goes flying in the air in front of me. You say, Lord, have mercy. I said, Jesus, as it went in the air. I said, Jesus, as it came down in my lane. I said, Jesus. And as I I didn't slam the brakes, but I'm slowing down. And as I said, Jesus, 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 the cylinder goes out of my lane into the next lane. I said, Jesus, Jesus, because cars are coming. It goes out of that lane over to the shoulder. Jesus. He kept all of us safe. Cool. When I tell you it went 20 feet up in the air and down in my lane, can you imagine what would have happened? And nobody would have known what had happened to us. So I give God praise for his wonderful traveling mercies and keeping me.
All right. Was that not an awesome testimony? I believe that was. Very good, very good. Very, very interesting the way that the Lord has led. And I'm sure he's doing very similar things in your life. So, why don't you reach out and share your testimony? It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in my country or you're in another country. I suppose you understand that technology is of such today that wherever you are, once you have internet connection and you're willing to share, then we can always arrange to be linked up together for that testimony. All right? So, hoping to hear from you, and please check out the contact information afterwards. God bless. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.